Alright, so, hi guys, it's Jacob, obviously. In this video, I'm going to be showing you, I'm not going to be actually, like, modding a 4x4 and showing you what that looks like. I'm just going to be showing you the before and after, because frankly, I think that, like, modding a 4x4 and then showing you the modification differences of, like, a specific 4x4 is kind of a waste of time. So what I'm going to be doing is I have an unmodded 4x4 right here that is re-stickered with nice stickers for some reason. And then I have my main 4x4, which, for those of you who tried it at World, it's pretty good, especially when it's lubed. But these pieces are all fully modified, and there's a lot of breaking in going on in this one, or having gone on. And this one has done, within a rounding error of 0 solves. And the pieces are unmodded and unbroken in. So I'll be showing you the differences between these two, and then hopefully it'll give you some insight as to how to modify Q. Because a lot of people act like, sorry, one sec. Because a lot of people act like there's one specific way that you should modify your 4x4, but there obviously isn't. For example, I got this new 4x4 over here. It's a 4x4, and it's a version 5, and I just modded the internals, and it's already really great, and I don't think that I'm going to do the full modification. I think that all I'm going to do is probably mod the corners and maybe round down the centers a tiny bit, but other than that, I think I'm just going to leave it. And so, like, depending on your cube, depending on your turning style, you should mess around with how much modification you do, and that is to say that you should have, like, 2 4x4s so that you can mess around, or you should try other people's cubes. But the goal of this video is not to say this is how you should mod your 4x4 and this is how you do it, but rather to give you an insight as to how I modified my 4x4, and maybe give you some ideas as to how you should do yours. So, let's get it going. I'm going to show you, so this is a V5 and this is a V4, but it's not very important, really. So the first thing is, let me grab 2 centerpieces. So, this is really terrible, but as you can see, this one is really quite straight, and then there's this lump at the bottom of the center, and there's this flash on here. See how there's kind of that weird flash on there? There's kind of like a weird, there's a kind of a weird bump here. You'll be able to see it on your 4x4. Now, what you're going to want to do on the modded one is that you're going to round this down, and you're going to round it down just a little bit on there, but you're going to want to be able to still distinguish the flash, because if you can't, it means you've modded too much. You're also going to want to round off this little bump on the bottom of this thing, whatever it is, and you're going to want to round down this, because it tends to be kind of flat and pretty bad when you initially get it. So round down this, preserve the flash here, you don't want to round that down too much, and round off a bit right here to improve corner cutting tolerance, and round this down just a little bit. And edge pieces, ooh, the same edge piece, oh, not quite. So you'll notice on the unmodified one, ooh, focus, yeah, it's quite straight here, and then down here it's a bit sharp, and then there's this kind of sharp kind of line right there. Maybe you can see it where the light is reflecting. That's kind of a sharp line, and then a dip into there. And the same is true on both sides. On the modified edge piece, I'm so bad at camera work. It's smooth down there, that you can see that it's kind of a rounded surface, and then down here it's just smoothed a tiny bit so that it's not so sharp, and the same applies right there. And obviously the same applies to the other side. There's quite a bit of modding done to the corner piece. So, you can see on the, ooh, how am I going to get that in? And we're looking down here. You can see on the unmodified corner piece, the corner stock bottom is, there's kind of like a line, there's a line, like a lump, sort of like on the V-Cube 5 mechanism that you all probably know. Come on, focus. Please, seriously? You're going to focus on my thumb, really? Yeah, there you go. So you can see down here, it might be kind of hard to see because of the angle is really awkward, but there's kind of 3 lines at the base of each corner stock, and you're going to want to just round those down just a little bit. As you can see here, I didn't take off any plastic, but it's just round, and there's no longer that line. It feels totally smooth when I run my finger over it. And then the other part is that, as you can see here, there's this kind of curvature right there. See, you can see the line reflecting off of it, and you can see it on this angle, and you can see that there's that line sticking out. Just take that off and just round down along here just a tiny bit, but mostly just take that off, because that's kind of affecting your corner cutting. And by corner cutting I mean just like tolerance in terms of being inaccurate, because you aren't going to get any actual corner cutting out of a 4x4. So just take those off on all 3 parts. Wow. And yeah. So now for the big internal piece. This, you should probably also mod the small internal piece, but it's not really a big deal. So you can see here that it's kind of a bulgy round, and there's a bit of sharpness right here. You can feel it on your cube, and that applies for all four, obviously. And then here, on this part, down here, where my thumb is, you can see that it's a rather sharp edge. So you're going to round down that on all four. It's kind of sharp if you feel it, just so that it, and then you're going to round down all of these, so that they're just round. You're not going to take off any plastic, you're just going to round it off. And so you can see the difference. This one is much rounder than that one, and you can see that it's kind of a smooth curve. It's sort of, it doesn't look like there's one side that's much straighter than the other side like there is here. It's going to be one smooth curve. There's going to be no sharp edges. And down here at the bottom, you can see that this is a much more round corner. It's harder to see because this is a V5, and so they've rounded it down. The ShengShou company has rounded it down themselves a little bit, but on the V4 it's quite sharp, and it's still a little bit sharp on here. For example, this feels completely smooth to me, whereas this feels kind of sharp, especially this corner right here, but you can't feel it at all on my V4. So do that modification as well. And then, something that some people say is kind of unimportant is modding the small internal piece, but I think that it makes quite a big difference. It eliminates a lot of internal lockups, and it makes the cube a lot smoother and a lot faster. So, ooh, focus, please. Please. Yeah, there you go. So as you can see, it's kind of looks square-ish. It looks kind of rounded. The corners look rounded, but it's kind of square-ish, and it applies to all four. As you can see, it looks rounded, but it's still kind of a quasi-sharp corner, and then like down here it's also sharp. You can feel that, and you don't want that. What you want is for it to be round like that. You can see, especially on this part, it's very, very round. It's like almost like a complete curve. And of course over here, you can be a little bit inconsistent with how you're modding on this one. And then, I don't remember if I'm shaved down this. I don't think that's important. It feels pretty sharp in here, so I don't think you need to. So instead of showing you on that cube, because for some reason it refuses to be reassembled, I have a white ShengShou Modify over here, and it's also unmodified, although it has about 30 cells on it. And FYI, the last time I speed cubed that I actually like speed solved with a white cube was over a year ago, and I can't get sub 40 on this for the life of me. Ooh, this actually is not that bad. This one is much worse. I'm going to show you. Oh, it's loosened a lot. That's probably why that's happening. Okay, whatever. So, see that? What's happening is that the internal's catching on the internal. And you experience those lockups. See those clanks, or those clicks? What's happening is that the internal is catching on itself. And so, god damn it. What's happening is that these two these two surfaces where the contact happens are not rounded off, and so what's happening is that they're passing and they're hitting each other, and then you have to push past. You have to push past. But here, since we've rounded it off, it's just going to glide right in, and those internal catchings are no longer going to happen. Another thing that causes the internal catching, or the internal catching, another thing that causes the catching, focus, please, please focus, why are you doing this, is those lines on the bottom of this corner stock. Wow, this is such a better angle, why did I not do this before? But that's also causing catching, because it's catching against the internal pieces again. Or, I don't know what it's catching against. It's catching against something. And so then, yeah, so that's one of the big problems with the ShengShou cube, is that these internal catches. And so, like, I'm trying to go... And so what often happens is you get the R2, and then this happens. And so it just kind of ruins your experience with the cube. I'm sorry that angle was really bad. And then... So then you saw that internal catching, and the cube, the feel of the cube is just kind of much slower than this one. So, let me show you. This is what is so much faster and so much smoother. And I never ever ever get that internal locking. All the lockups that are happening are just me making mistakes, so much faster, so much smoother. This one's feeling kind of gummy right now. I'm gonna probably clean it out. But so much faster and so much smoother. it pops an equal amount, which is maybe 1 in every 100 solves. Yesterday, I experienced the best pop ever. On my desk, there's like 3 shelves, and then the top shelf is probably like 2 feet in the air, and there were a couple of pieces up on top of that shelf. So it was a pretty great pop. 3/4 sections of the cube were left in place, but that also happens with unmodded cubes. The popping doesn't increase with modification. So, I hope that you guys found this tutorial thing helpful. I hope that it gave you some insight into how you should mod your cube. If you like slower cubes, don't immediately go and mod all, like, the edges, the centers, and the corners. Maybe just, like, round off the corners a little bit, take that lip off, and then smooth the centers a tiny bit. Or maybe just round off the edges just a tiny, tiny bit in order to reduce the catching. But don't go for the full mod immediately. You should slowly reassemble and disassemble your cube, because you'll get better at it, obviously, which is nice when you have pops in competition, like me. But you should, yeah, you should just, what was I don't even know what I was saying. Yeah, so I hope that you guys found this helpful. I hope that you guys have a good time modding your cubes, and I hope you have better ShengShou 4x4s after. Thanks for watching.